negotiations is rewarding and acknowledging why we're here, and it's because of the players. What is
It's not because stop saying players. Will y'all say her name? It's because of Caitlin Clark.
what has been your biggest priority when looking at the new CBA, looking at everything that's been negotiated? What's your biggest priority for this next CBA?
Well, I think it's a continued.
Watch that carefully.
Kia Nurse just said the WNBA's growth is because of the players, not because of one player, not because of Caitlin Clark bringing 3.2 million viewers to championship games. The players, plural, as if the league was on this trajectory all along. This is the conversation that's tearing apart the WNBA's relationship with its fanbase. And it's not just one player saying it, it's become the official narrative from the Players Union during CBA negotiations that could determine whether the 2025 season even happens.
Well, I think it's a continued conversation about revenue share, right? That's been something that we as a league have been very adamant about. We as a players organization, have been very adamant about. And so I think it's really important that we continue to focus and fight for revenue share. It's not a secret. The numbers are out across the board on all these other different major league sports that exists already. And so that's kind of the next step in progression. I think the two CBAs the previous CBA.
Revenue sharing. That's what Kia Nurse says is the natural next step for the league. She's talking about a model where players get a percentage of league revenue similar to the NBA's 50-50 split. Sounds reasonable on the surface. Here's what she's not mentioning. The WNBA has lost money every single year of its existence. We're talking about a league that's been subsidized by the NBA for 27 years. And now, in the first year where the league actually sees significant growth, players want to lock in revenue sharing before anyone knows if this spike is sustainable. The owners already put their cards on the table. They leaked their offer in December, which tells you how frustrated they are with these negotiations. Starting salary of $800,000, climbing to $1.3 million immediately, reaching $2.4 million within 4 years. For context, the current max is just over $200,000.
What y'all like? All of y'all. My thing is this: all y'all are really just trying to eat off the back and the clout of Caitlin Clark. That's the truth of the matter. The WNBA owners, like we saw, the WNBA owners called y'all out to the point where they went and leaked things they put in their CBA offer. They've done a lot. They've come to the table with a lot. They have upped the money a lot. You know, they started at $800K, they're up to 1.3, and in that offer in 4 years it would have been up to 2.4 million per year on a max deal.
But it's not enough. According to the Players Union, that offer is insulting. They want revenue sharing now, and they're willing to delay free agency and risk the entire season to get it. Let's talk about what revenue sharing actually means for a league that doesn't turn a profit. The owners came back with numbers. They said if they agreed to the players' demands right now, they'd lose $700 million, not over a decade. $700 million in the immediate term. That's not a negotiating tactic. That's math. When you don't generate profit, revenue sharing doesn't mean players get a bigger piece of the pie. It means owners write bigger checks to cover losses, with no end in sight.
You are valued for the work that you put in, and that's what we're going after.
Yeah, it's been, of course, something that we've been keeping an eye on here on this show. And all we've said is, look, we're just cheering for everybody to feel like they win. We want the players to feel like they get what they deserve. We want the league to feel like it's in a position where it can succeed financially and on the court for years and years to come. You did mention in a couple answers ago.
But the thing is, the owners already came out and said, doing what you guys want them to do, they will lose $700.
And here's where the public support completely collapsed. Players started going on social media talking about how disrespected they feel. Natasha Cloud posted about playing back-to-backs being inhumane. Other players complained about the grind of the season. The WNBA season is 40 games. 40. The NBA plays 82. NFL players are getting concussions every Sunday for 17 games. But WNBA players are on Instagram stories talking about how exhausting it is to play 40 games over 4 months while negotiating for salaries that 99% of Americans will never see in their lifetime. Rebecca Lobo, a WNBA legend and current broadcaster, said it plainly. The players have lost public support due to their own actions. And she's right. When you're asking for revenue sharing from a league that loses money while simultaneously complaining about the conditions that come with being a professional athlete, people stop sympathizing.
About the state of WNBA free agency, her being a free agent, what they're dealing with.
Yeah, if you have questions, well, get in. When you look at free agency, I feel like there's two different schools of thought. You can look at it as freedom, that you have the choice to go anywhere where, opportunities might arise. But like you mentioned, there's also that level of insecurity that you don't know where you're going to be living next year. You don't know what your contract looks like next year. Both of those things, I think, are incredibly valid. Kind of how are you looking at it?
Well, I think you have to start to understand that you have to get really comfortable.
But let's get back to Kia Nurse's original point, because this is where it gets really problematic. She said the growth is happening because of the players. Let's examine that claim with actual data. WNBA Finals 2023, before Caitlin Clark turned pro, averaged 7 to 28,000 viewers. WNBA Finals 2024, Clark's rookie season, 3.2 million viewers. That's a 340% increase in 1 year. Regular season attendance for the Indiana Fever, Clark's team, up 78%, league-wide attendance, up 48%. Every single one of the top 10 most-watched WNBA games in 2024 featured Caitlin Clark. Not some of them, all of them. Iowa's women's basketball championship game in April 2024, Clark's final college game, 18.7 million viewers. That's more than the NBA Finals games that year. She was bringing those numbers before she ever played a professional game.
I can focus on the things I want to focus on the court. I can focus on the things I want to focus on off the court as well. And then in the strength and conditioning realm, and be able to come to places like Nashville and play in Athletes Unlimited, because my first couple seasons, off seasons where I was at home, the one thing I felt like I was missing was that 5-on-5 kind of live action and being able to make those reads. And so being able to come to a place like Nashville and play in this Athletes Unlimited League is just such a joy for me. It was such a great time last year that I was like, yeah, sign me back up. I'll be back. But that's kind of how I deal with the uncertainties. What are the things that I can control? And right.
So when Kia Nurse says this growth is because of the players, she's technically correct. It's because of one player. And the refusal to acknowledge that reality is exactly why these negotiations have become so toxic. The players' union's strategy seems to be get revenue sharing locked in now while the numbers are up, then hope the growth continues. But what happens if Caitlin Clark gets injured? What happens if casual fans who came for her decide the product isn't worth watching without her? What happens when those television ratings drop back down and the league is locked into revenue sharing agreements based on one anomaly season? The owners are asking these questions. They're not being cheap. They're being realistic about a business that's never made money, just had one unprecedented year, and is now being asked to commit to a financial structure based on that 1 year.
They butchered a lot of this and how this has gone. They've completely, you guys have completely lost the public support with some of the things the WNBPA has done, things they've said. Guys complaining about playing back-to-backs, complaining about this, talking about it's a slap in the face when, you're making millions of dollars, and most of these people will never see $1 million in their lifetime. You guys have completely lost the public support due to your own doing, as Rebecca Lobo said.
And this is where the disconnect becomes almost comical. Kia Nurse talks about player safety and needing security on the road now that they actually need it. Why do they need security now? Because Caitlin Clark brought mainstream attention to the league. The crowds got bigger, the stakes got higher. And yes, that comes with increased scrutiny and security concerns. But that's not organic growth from the collective efforts of all players. That's the direct result of one player's drawing power creating circumstances that didn't exist before. It's like if a restaurant was empty for 27 years. Then one chef joined and suddenly there are lines around the block, and the other cooks started demanding raises, because look how busy we are now. Yes, you're busy, but let's be honest about why.
See how this will play out. Get down in the comments and let me know what you think. This Keep the Vision. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share the channel.
Here's what makes this situation so frustrating for fans who actually want the WNBA to succeed. The players had a golden opportunity. Caitlin Clark brought unprecedented attention, unprecedented revenue, unprecedented interest from sponsors and media. This was the moment to be smart, to be strategic, to lock in reasonable gains and build on the momentum. Instead, the players' union decided to go all in on maximum demands right now, revenue sharing or nothing. And in doing so, they've managed to turn public opinion against them during the best year the league has ever had. The owners offered to more than quintuple maximum salaries over 4 years. They offered better travel, better accommodations, better everything. And the response was essentially, not good enough, we want a percentage of revenue even though there's no profit. Think about what that tells you about the negotiating strategy. This isn't about getting fair value. This is about capitalizing on one exceptional year to lock in a deal structure that might not be sustainable. And if it fails, if the league loses that $700 million the owners are talking about, who suffers? Everyone. Players, fans, the entire women's basketball ecosystem. The players' union seems to believe they have all the leverage because the league finally has momentum. But leverage only works if you're willing to use it. Are they really prepared to cancel the 2025 season, to lose that momentum, to risk Caitlin Clark's prime years, to watch casual fans who just discovered the WNBA move on to something else? Because that's what happens when you overplay your hand. The owners can absorb losses. They've been doing it for 27 years. The NBA will keep subsidizing, but players have short careers. Kia Nurse is 28 years old. How many prime seasons does she have left to sacrifice for a negotiating position that might not even be economically viable? And here's the thing that nobody wants to say out loud. If this negotiation fails, if the season gets delayed or canceled, Caitlin Clark will be fine. She's got Nike deals, she's got endorsements, she's got options. The players who will suffer most are the ones acting like they have the most leverage. The role players, the veterans on their last contracts, the players who need the WNBA more than the WNBA needs them. Kia Nurse talks about getting comfortable with uncertainty in professional sport. But this isn't uncertainty. This is a calculated gamble that the growth will continue regardless of how these negotiations play out. And that's a bad bet. The smart play would have been to take the owner's offer, lock in those massive salary increases, prove the growth is sustainable over 2 or 3 years, then renegotiate from a position of actual strength. Instead, they're demanding everything now, based on 1 year of data, while actively alienating the fan base that just discovered the league. So when you watch Kia Nurse say this growth is because of the players, understand what you're really hearing. You're hearing someone who genuinely believes the narrative, despite all evidence to the contrary. You're hearing the official players' union talking points, and you're hearing exactly why these negotiations are stuck. Because if you can't acknowledge reality, you can't negotiate from reality. And the reality is simple. Caitlin Clark changed everything. The sooner the players' union accepts that, the sooner they can make a deal that actually benefits everyone. But right now, they're more interested in pretending this was always going to happen, that any rookie class would have delivered these results, that the growth is organic and sustainable and has nothing to do with one generational talent. That's not strategy. That's delusion. And it's exactly why fans are losing patience with players who make more in a year than most Americans make in a decade, complaining about playing 40 games while demanding revenue sharing from a league that's never turned a profit. The WNBA had its best year ever, and somehow, the players' union has managed to turn that success into a public relations disaster. That takes a special kind of mismanagement. So here's the question. Do you think the players' union is right to demand revenue sharing now? Or should they take the massive salary increases and prove the growth is sustainable first? Because one of those paths leads to long-term success, and the other might kill the momentum before it ever becomes permanent.